This is Part 2 Episode 86. No one knew Wang Lin's Dao heart other than himself. Wang Lin felt gloomy after Liu Mai's appearance. The country of Suzaku was like this massive giant, and its presence could be felt by everyone everywhere on the planet. The higher his cultivation level became, the more he became aware of this feeling. Although his stay at Suzaku was short, that sense of danger was engraved in his heart. No matter whether it was at the Celestial Cave where all the servants were mute, or during his fight with Red Butterfly, he felt this huge pressure on him that made it hard to even breath. It felt like the sky covered by a massive black cloud, and unless he had the power to break through the black cloud, there wasn't any way to resist. The country of Suzaku was the supreme ruler of the planet Suzaku. However, from Wang Lin's point of view, although the country of Suzaku was the ruler, there was a hint of death. This wasn't a real death aura, but a feeling. The country lacked change, and without change it was dying. I'm afraid that Suzaku has reached its end. Wang Lin raised his head and looked into the distance. That direction was where Suzaku was located. 2 days later, the competition in the outer sect began. The tens of thousands of disciples were divided among hundreds of arenas. There were dozens of fights a day on each arena. Among these outer sect disciples, there were rogue cultivators and cultivators from cultivation families. All of them had the goal of joining the inner sect. There was only one rule, and that was to win. They didn't care about the life and death of the outer sect disciples at all. If you had the ability, you could kill everyone and they wouldn't care. There was even a rumor that the more you killed, the higher chance you have of entering the inner sect. If there was someone who killed everyone they fought, their chances of entering the inner sect would be unimaginably high. This rumor would go around every time the competition started. A long time ago, there was one fiend who killed his way through the competition. Although he failed to win, he was still accepted into the inner sect in the end. The one extraordinary occurrence caused this rumor to spread like wildfire. Every time there was competition, less than half of the outer sect disciples would be alive after it ended. The losers would have to pay even more spirit stones to ensure that they could stay for the next competition. No one could keep track of or knew how many outer sect disciples had died throughout all these years. After each competition, the main soul flag in the sect gained countless souls. The entire soul refining sect kept on growing stronger thanks to this cruel method. Every day, a large amounts of outer sect disciples died. The more than 100 battle arenas were flooded with blood. Wang Lin carefully observed over these past few days. Every time someone died, their soul would be absorbed by the arena and disappear. On the day of Wang Lin's battle, he gently floated onto the battle arena. A core formation inner disciple wearing a black robe was managing this battle arena. He coldly looked at Wang Lin, and was shocked to find that Wang Lin's cultivation level was close to his. Not many outer sect disciples could reach this level of cultivation. He said, "Number 8972, battle." A shout came from the surrounding disciples, and then a short and fat disciple jumped out from among the disciples like a ball of meat and landed on the arena. He didn't say a word. Right after he appeared, his hand formed a seal and balls of fire appeared, then they smashed down toward Wang Lin like a rain of fire. Late stage of foundation establishment, Wang Lin shook his head. For this competition, he had locked his cultivation level to the mid-stage of core formation. He waved his hand and jumped off the stage. The moment he jumped off the stage, the short and fat disciple's body trembled. All of the fire disappeared and the disciple fainted. Wang Lin didn't kill him. To kill a foundation establishment junior was simply too shameful. As time passed, many outer sect disciples died. After 7 days, aside from the 100 that made it through, 50% of the remaining outer sect disciples had died. The remaining ones all either gave up ahead of time or both sides were heavily injured, so they lived. During these 7 days, 4 people among the outer sect disciples caught people's attention. Among the 4 of them there was a grey-haired old man at the late stage of core formation. Everyone he encountered was killed by the same technique. All he did was point at the person, said the word die, and his enemy would fall over and die. When Wang Lin saw this technique, he immediately thought of the G realm and was shocked. However, when he looked closely, this technique was different from the G realm. Death spell. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin guessed the name of the spell. Back in the Sea of Devils, his G realm was mistaken for the death spell. That's how he learned about it. This death spell was very difficult to cultivate. In his 500 years of cultivation, this was the first time he had seen it. The other person was a very small and thin young man. Although he was only at the early stage of core formation, he was like a wild beast. He was also able to detect the flow of spiritual energy before someone could use a technique, and would act accordingly. If he was fighting someone stronger than him, it wouldn't be of much use, but against people of the same cultivation level, it was a heavenly advantage. Wang Lin couldn't help but appreciate this talent. He even had the urge to take him as a disciple, but he quickly threw that idea out of his mind. The third person was someone Wang Lin was familiar with. It was the butcher-like cultivator, from Cave 743. He had a talisman treasure that had killed countless people. Everyone he battled was killed by the talisman. As for the last person, it was Wang Lin himself. He breezed his way through the competition, and knocked out every disciple with just a wave of his sleeves. This would naturally catch the attention of everyone. However, this was something Wang Lin was doing on purpose. Only by doing this would it not seem strange when he enters the inner sect. As for Liu Mai, he assumed that she had some sort of agenda. Even if she didn't appear in the competition, she would be able to get into the inner sect somehow. Time quickly passed and 7 more days went by. Of the 100 or so disciples, only 4 remained. It just so happened that the 4 remaining people were the 4 that caught the eyes of the soul-refining sect. This was the day of Wang Lin's battle. He stood on the stage, as he watched his opponent walk onto the stage and reveal a weird smile. The person who came up wasn't a stranger, but the butcher-like cultivator, from Cave 743. The person in charge of this battle was an early-stage nascent soul cultivator from the inner sect. He was already middle-aged with graying sideburns. He looked around and coldly said, "Battle, start." The moment he finished speaking, the butcher-like cultivator bitterly smiled and said, "I give up." The nascent soul cultivator was startled. He looked at the butcher-like cultivator and asked, "You give up?" The butcher-like cultivator quickly nodded and said, "I surrender." With that, he quickly got off the stage. His heart was pounding as he secretly thought, "I still have the restriction that brat placed in my body. He could have killed me with just a thought." After he got off the stage, he let out a smile to try to please Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a smile and faintly shook his head before walking off the stage. The nascent soul cultivator thoughtfully looked at Wang Lin and then went on to manage the second battle. The battle between the old man, who controlled the death spell, and the young man, with very good instincts was quick. The young man wasn't able to resist the death spell at all. When he wasn't able to hold on anymore, he was saved by a ray of spiritual energy that came all the way from the inner sect. At this point, only 2 people remained in this outer sect competition, Wang Lin and the old man, who was named Sima. The battle between the 2 started on the second day. Sima's eyes were gloomy as he stood on the stage. He had cultivated the death spell for so long, just for this day. Once he enters the inner sect, he will have a chance to form his nascent soul. Moreover, the soul-refining sect's soul flag would go very well his death spell. According to his teacher, if he cultivated both at the same time, his power would be close to that of the long-lost and legendary G realm. When thinking of his teacher, his eyes were filled with a hint of fanaticism. His teacher was able to kill any nascent soul cultivator, just by uttering the word, "die," and only a few soul formation cultivators would be able to escape. In his mind, his teacher had the ability to challenge soul transformation old monsters. Death spell. Unless someone has a much higher cultivation level than you, they won't be able to resist the death spell. The death spell is rumored to come from the ancient cultivation world when the cultivators back then tried to mimic the G realm. Rumor has it that cultivating the death spell to its peak allows one to gain a sliver of the G realm. His master's words still echoed in his head as Sima stared at his last opponent. He didn't consider the young man named Qingmu a threat at all. Killing intent flashed across his eyes and he said, "Die." The death spell shot out toward Wang Lin as he said the word. The death spell was created by ancient cultivators who studied the Ji realm. Although it was difficult to cultivate, it was easier to control than the impossible to control Ji realm. Once it was completed, all one would have to say was "die," and the targeted person would immediately die. In order to cultivate this technique, one has to fuse 3 auras into one. The 3 auras are the death aura, yin aura, and killing aura. The death aura comes from absorbing energy from corpses. Although this is a type of yin energy, it is filled with death. The second, yin aura, is yin energy from the souls of females. This yin aura contains life. After obtaining those 2 auras, the cultivator has to fuse them and then combine the result with a third aura, the killing aura. After fusing the 3 auras, they will experience a trial with only a 10% chance of survival. Whoever lives through it will be able to start using the death spell. Once one starts cultivating the death spell, they will have to suffer an unimaginable amount of pain every day, and go through a trial every 3 years, with only 10% chance of surviving each one. After experiencing several cycles, the death spell reaches its first stage of completion. If one wishes to continue to cultivate it, their chance of death increases. This spell tries to mimic the Ji realm. However, it is much weaker than the Ji realm and much more dangerous to cultivate, making it somewhat pyrrhic. Although its offensive capability is amazing, the death spell eventually became a lost technique as fewer and fewer people cultivated it. Sima said the word "die" and activated the death spell. A strange fluctuation of spiritual energy immediately began to spread out from the finger he was pointing with. The air was like a calm pool of water that just had a rock thrown in. Countless ripples spread in the air. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light. He didn't move at all as he experienced the death spell. The moment Sima pointed at him, he felt a sliver of yin aura inside his body. This yin aura was very different from the yin energy he had used to cultivate the underworld ascension method. The moment that yin aura appeared, another aura appeared within his body. The appearance of this aura shocked Wang Lin. If it had appeared in his original body, he wouldn't be surprised, but this body hadn't killed much at all, yet a bit of killing aura still formed. Although this killing aura was faint, it fused with the yin aura to form a very sharp blade that charged directly into his origin soul. However, with Wang Lin's strength, he only needed one thought to destroy this mysterious power. With one thought, his origin soul froze this mysterious power. Due to his understanding of the Ji realm, he was able to instantly see through the death spell. Although the death spell was powerful, it was still far too weak compared to the Ji realm. The Ji realm was a mutation from the divine retribution lightning. It would instantly kill cultivators of the same realm. This death spell was a technique that could kill anyone with a lower cultivation level in one hit, but had very little effect on people with higher cultivation levels. For example, if a mid-stage core formation cultivator were to use it, they would instantly kill anyone with a lower cultivation level. Even against cultivators at the same level, it had a chance to succeed, and if not, it would at least shock the enemy. However, when facing a late-stage core formation cultivator, this technique was not very useful, and if the user was not careful, they would be affected by backlash. This was far too weak compared to the Ji realm. Wang Lin faintly shook his head. Although this death spell was mysterious, it was useless to him. With a thought, the mysterious power of the death spell disappeared from his body. The moment it dissipated, Sima's pupils shrank, his body trembled, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. He wasn't able to contain the injury caused by the backlash of the death spell, so he fell to the ground. At this moment, another ray of spiritual energy shot out from the inner sect and dragged Sima's body into the inner sect. Without any suspense, Wang Lin became the winner of this competition. The inner sect disciple in charge of this fight clasped his hands at Wang Lin and said, "My name is Wang Zhen. The next time we meet, I'll have to call you junior apprentice brother. Qingmu, come and follow me to meet the elder." Wang Lin nodded and smiled. He followed Wang Zhen into the inner sect. The inner sect of the soul refining sect was like heaven. When he passed through the formation, he saw 3 heaven-piercing mountains. As they flew, Wang Jun explained, these 3 mountains belong to the 3 factions that exist within the soul refining sect. They are soul refining, soul extracting, and soul sealing. Wang Lin nodded and looked toward the 3 mountains. Behind the 3 mountains were giant rings of golden light. They each seemed to contain their own universe, as they lit up the entire sect. Those 9 golden rings of light are where the 9 soul formation seniors cultivate. One day I'll reach the soul formation stage, and become the 10th golden ring. Wang Jun's voice was filled with desire. Wang Lin looked at the golden rings of light. From here he could clearly feel that the 9 golden rings were emitting powerful spiritual energy. If I can recover, none of the cultivators in the 9 rings of light will be a match for me. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. Wang Jun turned his head and asked, Qingmu, do you know about Seng Niu? Seng Niu. Wang Lin calmly nodded and said, I've heard of him. My soul refining sect had 10 soul formation cultivators, but one of them was killed by Seng Niu. Wang Jun's eyes were filled with admiration. He is my goal. One day, I'll become the number 1 cultivator below the soul transformation stage on Suzaku. Oh, really? He thought for a long time, but couldn't remember when he killed a soul formation cultivator from the soul refining sect. Wang Jun said, not many people know of this, though. This soul formation ancestor was visiting other countries, but got into an argument with Seng Niu and was killed by him. Wang Lin rubbed his nose. He really couldn't remember at all. This Seng Niu sure did disappear at the right time. My soul refining sect's Dun Qian was about to go ask him about this matter. Wang Jun sighed. Ancestor Du Qian. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. It's not a big deal to tell you this now since you will become a member of the inner sect. Our soul refining sect has 2 soul transformation ancestors, one of them is Ancestor Du Qian. Wang Lin raised his head. He could faintly see a trace of a blood-red aura behind the 9 golden rings of light. As the 2 talked, they arrived at the soul refining mountain. At the top of the mountain there was a hall made of green stones. Wang Jun said, Qingmu, go inside, the elder will arrange things for you. Wang Lin nodded and calmly walked into the hall. The hall was completely dark. The moment he entered, he felt a pressure surrounding him, only this pressure was nothing to Wang Lin. He revealed an expression that made him look like he couldn't bear this pressure and stopped walking. After a few seconds, the pressure receded and an ancient voice said, come up. Wang Lin released a look of relief and walked up. The hall suddenly lit up and green lights lit up around the hall. At the center of the hall sat an old man wearing a green robe. He was looking at Wang Lin. This person's cultivation level had reached the peak of the late stage of nascent soul. He was only missing his own domain to reach the soul formation stage. The old man withdrew his gaze from Wang Lin and blandly asked, what is your name? Wang Lin clasped his hands and respectfully answered, disciple's name is Qingmu. The old man's eyes became serious and he asked, how did you break Sima's death spell? Wang Lin calmly responded, disciple has hidden his cultivation level. My real cultivation level is at the peak of the late stage of core formation, so the death spell naturally wasn't able to hurt me. The old man nodded. From his point of view, this Qingmu was not lying and had indeed hidden his cultivation level. From the moment he entered, the old man noticed that his cultivation level was not at the mid-stage of core formation, but at the peak of the late stage of core formation. The old man arrived before Wang Lin in the blink of an eye. His finger was as fast as lightning as he pressed it between Wang Lin's eyebrows. Wang Lin didn't dodge. The moment the finger touched him, a cold energy entered his body, but with Wang Lin's origin soul, he wasn't worried at all. Shortly after, the old man withdrew his finger. His eyes were no longer cold. He said, I'm the head elder of the soul refining mountain. You can go to the side mountain to pick up your token and clothes. You can also go to the Soul Refining Mountains library to pick out a technique. Also, you can open up a cave on any part of the mountain to cultivate. There are no teachers in the Soul Refining sect, everyone cultivates on their own. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Now go. Wang Lin nodded and respectfully left. Shortly after he left, two powerful divine senses appeared inside the hall. Junior apprentice brother, how is this person? The old man snorted and said, nothing to worry about. Junior apprentice brother, in these past several years, all of the ancestors have been in closed-door cultivation. We have to hold down the fort, and not let anyone with ill intent enter. The old man's voice was cold as he said, what a joke. It's not like we don't already have a lot of people in the soul-refining sect with ulterior motives. One more won't be too much, and one less won't be too little. 1 out of 10 disciples under my 2 senior apprentice brothers have ulterior motives. You too should manage your own mountains. Matters of my soul-refining mountain are none of your concerns. Junior disciple's grievance is strong. That junior with the anticipation intuition was chosen by me. That person who knows the death spell was picked by the junior apprentice brother in charge of the soul-sealing mountain. The last person left is the winner of the competition. Is junior apprentice brother still not happy? The old man's expression was ugly. What nonsense, both of them have special abilities, but this person only has a slightly higher cultivation level. I won't be sending 2 senior apprentice disciples off. The 2 divine senses let out a loud laugh and then dissipated. Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense as he walked along the mountain. All of the soul formation and above cultivators are in closed-door cultivation, and the soul-refining sect is being managed by the 3 of them. Wang Lin pondered this as he walked toward the side hall. After he got his token and clothes, Wang Lin noticed that it was still early in the day, so he went to the library. The library of the soul-refining mountain wasn't large, it only had 3 floors. Looking from a distance, this library seemed very normal. When Wang Lin entered, his eyes focused on an old man sitting inside. The old man was very close to the nascent soul stage, he was only 1 step away. The old man's face was yellow, his body was skinny, and he looked very tired. When he noticed that someone had entered, he opened his eyes and said, "Token." Wang Lin handed over his token. The old man looked at it and said, "You can look around as you wish, but you're not allowed to go to the 3rd floor. The time limit is 3 days." Wang Lin nodded and entered the library. Looking at the 1st floor, there were rows of shelves with jades, bamboo carvings, and even stone carvings. Wang Lin's eyes swept past them. There was a wide variety of techniques here, and they covered just about everything. There were techniques he already knew and techniques he had never seen before. Only, there was nothing about refining a soul flag. After making his way through the 1st floor, he entered the 2nd floor. The number of techniques on the 2nd floor was lower than the 1st. They were scattered around the room with descriptions of each technique. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and found the 4 words, soul flag production method. He picked up the jade to check and then frowned. This jade did indeed contain the method to creating a soul flag, but it was exactly the same as what everyone else did. If the soul refining sect really used this method, there was no way they would be as famous as they were now. After carefully searching through the 2nd floor, Wang Lin, who had found nothing he needed, looked toward the 3rd floor. He didn't do anything reckless, and returned to the skinny elder. He clasped his hands and asked, "Senior, why can't I go up to the 3rd floor?" The old man yawned. He looked at Wang Lin and said, "You can't go up, so you can't go up. What's with all this nonsense?" Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he stared at the old man. The old man frowned. He muttered something and then impatiently said, "You don't need to stare. You want to look for the method to make the soul flag, right? I can tell you that it isn't here, and it isn't in the 3rd floor either. There are only 10 pieces of jade with the method to make the soul flag. If you want it, then go steal them. See, that cave over there has one. If you can steal it, you can learn it." Wang Lin looked toward where the old man was pointing. There was indeed a cave there. There aren't any rules in the soul refining sect. If you have the ability to kill, kill. If you want anything, steal it, and if you like any women, take them. If you don't have any ability, then find others who have no ability to cultivate together so you can protect yourself. No rules. One can do as he wishes. Wang Lin let out a faint smile. This soul-refining sect was indeed interesting. Wang Lin waved his hand and a giant invisible hand grabbed the old man. The old man was startled, but he let out a laugh. The impatient look on his face disappeared and was replaced with battle intent. Good. Good. In these past 100 years, you are the 5th person to attack me. Okay, I'll play with you. With that, he moved his body to break free. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He casually waved his hand and the old man was thrown by a powerful force toward the wall. The old man's head was spinning from the collision. He was about to let out an angry roar when he was picked up and thrown again. Bang, bang, bang. The continuous collisions caused the old man to cough out blood. Seeing that Wang Lin was going to continue, he quickly shouted, "Grandfather, please stop. I am willing to call you grandfather. If you throw me anymore, this old body will break." Wang Lin released his grip. The old man fell to the ground and got up after a while. He let out a bitter smile and said, "Junior apprentice brother, with your strength, just go steal what you want. As long as you don't kill too many people, no one is going to bother you." Wang Lin looked at the old man and left. Shortly after, he arrived before the cave the old man had pointed at before. There were some restrictions outside the cave. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and found that there was a middle-aged man cultivating inside. There was a side room with 2 female cultivators cultivating inside as well. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand moved, creating many illusionary restrictions. With a bang, all of the restrictions outside the cave collapsed along with the door. The old man in the distance shivered. He thought that the soul-refining mountain had gained another person that couldn't be offended. The middle-aged man let out an angry roar because his cave was destroyed. He flew out in a ray of red light, and without a word took out a small, purple flag. Hundreds of souls flew out of the flag. There were males and females among these souls. They let out bursts of sharp shrills and charged toward Wang Lin. "Destroying my cave, you're courting death." Wang Lin remained calm. The person who charged out of the cave wasn't at the nascent soul stage. He was at the peak of the late stage of core formation like the elder from the library. However, the soul flag in his hand was a bit different. Wang Lin could clearly see a golden line on the soul flag, and the souls it released had a black aura around them. This was very different from the souls of normal soul flags that looked like they would dissipate if the wind blew on them. These hundreds of souls were full of energy, and a few of them gave off pressure no weaker than a normal core formation cultivator's. Growth. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, because he saw what was different from this soul flag. The souls inside this soul flag had the ability to keep growing. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he reached out with his hand. The soul flag flew out of the middle-aged man's hand and into his. He wiped the divine sense from it and imprinted his own, then he immediately felt a sense of harmony within his soul. With a wave of the soul flag, the souls that were charging at him were all absorbed by it. The core formation cultivator was dumbfounded. He sucked in a breath of cold air and immediately took out a black jade. He placed it on the ground, backed away, and shouted, "I admit defeat, I admit defeat. The cave is yours, the jade is yours, and the flag is yours too. I have 2 cultivation concubines as well. I haven't touched one of them yet. You can have them too. I am giving everything to you, so according to the rules, you can't kill me." With that, he quickly backed away. Wang Lin looked at this person. He didn't attack, but waved his hand. The black jade flew into his hand and he carefully examined it. At this moment, 2 women walked out of the cave. Both of them were very beautiful and calm. They acted like this was completely normal and just quietly stood there. This is the real method for making the soul flags. However, it seems this isn't complete. Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense and frowned. One of the 2 women, she was wearing a blue dress, saw Wang Lin frown after reading the jade and asked, "Senior apprentice brother, did you notice that the method seems incomplete?" Wang Lin raised his head to look at the 2 of them. Both of them were at the early stage of core formation. Wang Lin asked, "Why is it like this?" The blue-robed woman quickly said, "Senior apprentice brother must be Ching Mu, the winner of the recent outer sect disciple competition. I, your junior apprentice sister, am called Shu Yun." Shu Yun greets senior apprentice brother. As for the reason the soul flag is incomplete, it is because it is split into 3 parts. Each part matches the name of the 3 mountains: soul refining, soul extracting, and soul sealing. By combining the 3 methods together, you will get the real soul flag production method. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He put the jade away and looked at the cave. This place didn't meet his standards. He spread out his divine sense and flew toward the bottom of the mountain. The 2 women were startled. They looked at each other before quickly following Wang Lin. It was very dangerous to be alone in the soul refining sect. Unless your cultivation was very powerful, you needed to rely on others. This was why there were many groups. Once you lose a battle, you must hand over everything. Once you handed everything over, the other person wasn't allowed to kill you, or else the elders would interfere. These irrational rules made it so that no one felt like they belonged in the soul refining sect. However, no one knew why the soul refining sect did this. The senior apprentice brother they relied on was scared away by Wang Lin, so they would naturally need to follow Wang Lin. As Wang Lin flew, he frowned. He turned around and shouted, "Don't follow me." He coldly looked at the 2 women and turned around to leave. The woman next to Shu Yun anxiously asked, "Senior apprentice sister, what should we do?" Shu Yun stomped her feet and snorted. "What else can we do? If he won't let us follow him, then we won't follow. Once he finds a cave, we will open our cave near him. Maybe the others will give him face and not bother our cultivation." Near the bottom of the mountain, Wang Lin's eyes locked onto a cliff. He pointed at the cliff and a flying sword charged at it. It only took a few moments for a cave to form. After Wang Lin flew into the cave, he casually sent out a restriction and sealed the cave. Inside the cave, Wang Lin's gaze locked onto the wall. The reason he chose this spot was because it was closest to the spirit vein. Although he couldn't absorb the power of the spirit vein like before, he could still borrow its power. His body disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was before the main spirit vein under the soul refining mountain. After sitting down in the lotus position, he spread out his divine sense. What he found startled him. In the deepest part of the spirit vein, there was massive black gas that blocked out all divine senses. Spiritual energy from the spirit vein was being absorbed by the black gas. Wang Lin's divine sense was at the edge of the black gas. He was able to detect screams of souls that would occasionally appear inside the black gas. It stops divine sense. Wang Lin looked around and immediately found that there was a restriction around the black gas. It was because of this restriction that his divine sense couldn't enter. After looking at it for a bit, Wang Lin's eyes became focused. This. Could this be an ancient soul restriction? Wang Lin's heart trembled. This video will end here.